everyone, I'm going to be doing my presentation on the emperor penguin. It is by far my favorite species of bird. Um, Here you can see the scientific name. I cannot pronounce it, however. So starting with some general information, this is the family that it is in. The population size is about 595,000, and that's between 46 colonies. The height is between 3.6 and 4.3 feet. Their lifespan is 20 years in the wild, but actually around 50 in captivity. Their conservation status is near threatened, and the clutch size is 1. Here you can see the height of the emperor penguin compared to other species. So next we have our habitat. The only continent that they inhabit is Antarctica, and they inhabit it year-round. They are primarily found on what's called fast ice, which is floating ice that is connected to land or ice shelves. They utilize areas with icebergs or ice cliffs during breeding season for protection from storms and the cold. If you look at the map here, it shows, the pink shows their where they inhabit, and then the green on the coast here shows where they are during their breeding season. Okay, so next we have our identifying characteristics that can distinguish the emperor penguin from other similar species. So it's actually the largest penguin species in general. And they have bright yellow and orange feathers just below the throat and on the ear patches. The males and females are similar in appearance, the males being generally slightly larger, and their chicks have light gray feathers with downy plumage. They are very similar in appearance to the king penguin. However, the emperor penguins are larger with shorter, more curved beaks. And you can see I've included two pictures here comparing the two penguin species. And you can see that the chicks look a little bit different, and the coloring looks a little bit different on each one. Next we have our vocalizations. They use vocalizations to identify each other. They have the widest range of calls between all penguin species, and they use 2 frequency bands simultaneously. The next slide, I have a short video of the vocalizations that they do because I cannot imitate their type of call. Okay, so now we have their feeding. So their diet consists of mostly fish, crustaceans, and cephalopods. They dive near the coast of the ice shelves to locate their food sources. When they're diving, emperor penguins reach around 50 meters where they'll swim underneath the ice in search of fish that are near the bottom of the ice. And they can remain underwater for 22 minutes. They have curved beaks with tongues that have rear-facing barbs that hook on to their prey. So breeding begins at about 5 years of age, which is kind of late for most bird species. It occurs in large colonies, normally in late March to early April, and chicks hatch in the midsummer when the chance of survival is greatest. Their courtship begins by the male giving a very particular call. Their breeding results in a single egg that is incubated by the male for 60 to 68 days. During this time, males will huddle together during severe storms to conserve their heat. And then after hatching, chicks remain on the feet of its parents to protect it from the Arctic ice. If the egg or the chick falls from the parent onto the ice, it normally results in death. Emperor penguins are monogamous during their individual breeding seasons, but they often find new mates the next season. However, about 15% of adults are able to locate their mate from the previous breeding season. So this is just an image of how their whole breeding cycle kind of happens. So here at the beginning, you have them feeding and getting ready to head to their breeding area, and then you see them getting there, then they mate, and then the males will incubate the eggs, and then once this happens, the females leave back where they came from and will be eating that pretty much that entire time. And then once the chick hatches, the females return and then they take turns feeding the chick while the other one goes back and feeds, and that cycle keeps on going. And you can see in the meantime, the chicks will form little groups and the adults um, will eventually leave and the chicks will fledge as the ice breaks up. So now we'll just go through some adaptations. They obviously swim instead of flying, so their bodies are streamlined, allowing for little drag, giving them an increased speed. Wings are adapted for swimming rather than flying. They're thin, flat, curved shaped. They've also adapted to tolerate low oxygen and high pressures um, during their dives. So their bones are solid rather than hollow, and some of their non-essential organs actually stop functioning and their heart rate slows. They've also adapted to tolerate cold temperatures, so they have very dense feathers that are waterproof, and they huddle together in big groups, as you can see in the picture, to conserve their heat. Then we just have some unique traits about them. They're the fifth heaviest living bird. They're the only bird species to inhabit Antarctica through the winter. Um, the only also the only penguin species where only the male incubates the egg. Um, Other penguin species, the male and the female trade off and share incubating the egg. They can also withstand temperatures as low as negative 50 degrees Celsius and winds up to 200 kilometers per hour. They have feet with special fats that can withstand the Arctic ice. They also have very sharp claws for gripping the ice, as you can see in the picture. And they can climb steep ice cliffs, which allows them to have colonies that inhabit high ice shelves. And just a couple interesting facts. The deepest recorded dive was 564 meters, and the longest dive recorded was 28 minutes. While emperor penguins are the largest living penguin species, the fossil record actually shows a closely related species that was about 6 feet tall and weighed about 115 kilograms. Often, the colonies of emperor penguins are counted by aerial images from space, where they use satellites to take pictures that can distinguish each individual that it's taking a picture of. So much of the current research is focusing on the global warming impacts on the species because they live In Antarctica, because they rely on ice patterns for breeding and other behaviors, rapid warming of the Arctic areas has caused the species to be classified as near threatened. The breeding colonies have been found on ice shelves, some of them anyways, which this may have positive outcomes for the future of the species in global warming, because they are able to utilize areas that are farther away from the coast, which would be um, melting, unfortunately, from global warming. But overall, the species is expected to decline from global warming. In conclusion, emperor penguins are a beautiful, interesting species of bird, and that's why they are my favorite. Like many other large birds, they're flightless, but yet they are specialized for swimming. And if you find this bird as interesting as I do, you can actually view a live stream of this species of penguins at the Detroit Zoo, and I included a link um, to this website where you can see that. It's pretty cool. And these are my citations. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed.